Hey, thanks for pressing play on this video. I'm Travis Currah, joined by Sheldon Jones. We decided to have an emergency podcast because all of the scuttlebutt on Twitter over the past 24 to 48 hours has a lot of CFL fans talking both negatively and positively, Sheldon.
Yes, it's become very polarizing, which, it's almost like we're talking about butter tarts and raisins. Like it's at that level, I think, right now on CFL Twitter.
Yeah, I miss the days when we were crying about air horns and Slurpee cups, but here we go. Luke Willson, a former Super Bowl champ with the Seattle Seahawks, is now a part of TSN's Friday Night Football broadcast, and he posted this on X recently, and it's on the screen right now. And just as it's on the screen, maybe I'll read through it. Luke says, and I quote, "I told you I would be honest and tell the truth about the CFL. If the goal is to grow the game and attract a younger demographic, the on-field product of the Saskatchewan-Toronto game is just not going to cut it. That game was hot garbage. Let me be clear in saying that I don't think it's a talent thing. This isn't a shot at the players, but that game was really bad. Let's start with the obvious," he says. "There were 29 penalties for 307 yards. It was absurd." And he says that's not a shot at the refs either. That in itself is enough to ruin any kind of football game. It was a tough watch. Next, let's go to the end of the game. It's junk ball. Yes, I said it. Junk football. First off, Saskatchewan misses a chip shot, a 33-yard field goal, which would have basically sealed the win. Instead, they were awarded a point for missing it. The ball wasn't returnable, didn't land in the field of play. Then they kick off and give up a 9-play touchdown drive where there is one penalty, one incompletion, and every other play is a tackle in bounds. No timeouts are used, and it took 1 minute and 39 off the clock. There are no big plays either. It's mainly checkdowns. Nothing could be more gimmicky than that. You've basically eliminated any sort of 2-minute drive. There was not the slightest bit of urgency needed. Let that sink in. The Argos kick off and don't even field a full team. Yes, that's correct. After tying the game with 23 seconds left, the Argos are a man short on the kickoff. There's a block in the back penalty that is missed, and the play should have been called back. For a 3-down throwing league, there were 4 total completions of 20-yard throws or more. There were 12 quarterback sneaks, and the Argos had 31 pass attempts and per PFF gave up 25 pressures. Insane. Now he logs on the socials after the game, and it's tweet after tweet about how amazing the CFL is because of the kick return ending, even articles and podcasts declaring the CFL's greatness. It's bold-faced lies. The league and the people who cover it are trying so hard to protect the game that is their lack of honesty is ruining it. Why can't we call it like it is? A bad football game. Let me be very clear. If the goal is to grow the game for a younger demographic, this sort of stuff will not do it. You'd have a better chance at pissing in a hot sauce bottle than having any sort of substantial growth with games like that. I want to end by saying there have been some great games already this season, and I do believe the CFL has the players and the talent to attract a ton of new fans in all demographics, but sometimes I wonder if the powers that be actually want that to occur. And he says, please don't respond that there are bad games in the NFL. Yes, there most certainly are, but the NFL doesn't have the same issues the CFL does, one of which is that there are only 4 games a weekend, so each game is magnified to its audience. That is Luke Willson, a member of the Friday Night Football broadcast. Sheldon Jones, I'll start with you. What say you?
Yeah, so it's hard to tell. I think part of this is trolling, but I also think that he does care, and I think he does like the product. It's tough to decide where to start, but I think that the one thing that I do want to start with is I want to start with the QB sneaks because I don't even know why this is in there. Okay, so he doesn't want to compare it to the NFL. However, in the CFL, you line up a yard off. Okay, in the NFL, you don't. So the CFL head coaches are a lot more likely to gamble when it's 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 1, and you're going to do a QB sneak. And sometimes you see like what Tommy Stevens did, and you get around the corner and it becomes an exciting play if it's like 20, 30 yards. So
Well, haven't
think
we already seen several stops on 3rd and inches this season?
Yeah.
Too?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there was a stop in the game, which was a very exciting thing. So it's not an automatic play. That's why it is a gamble, and we're also seeing the tush push, coming to life in the NFL. So they're starting to kind of adapt to it. So I don't know why he needed to throw that in there, but whatever. The The next thing that I have an issue with is the last 3 minutes and the drive. Okay, so the drive that the Argos did, yeah, it may not be exciting when it comes to play calling, when it's like just checkdowns and slants. However, to the fan, it's exciting because you've one side of the fan who is seeing a team march against another team who is supposed to have a good defense, and you have another fan base who are pulling their hair out because they're seeing their team come down on them. And I guarantee you, if you took a look at the ratings for that game minute by minute with 5 minutes left or whatever, the ratings would have increased because of that's called excitement. That when a game ends like that, I understand, he says the rest of the 57 minutes was garbage. That's not true. There was a lot of stuff in that game that was actually good. And it just seems like it's kind of overreaction theater. It's trying just to strike a nerve with certain CFL Twitter people. And I understand that but he does have good points. He has points that the league does need to go younger. And the thing is, though, the gameplay is not going to be the thing that changes or attracts fans. The gameplay is what it is. They make tweaks to it every year with little rule changes and whatnot, but the gameplay is uniquely Canadian. We have different rules in the NFL, and it's a very exciting offense-driven league. It's marketing. We need to market our players better. We need to get players doing trendy things. We need to get them on Instagram. We need to get them on TikTok. We need to get them out in the community. We need to get them on Wheaties boxes or the Canadian equivalent, like teams used to do back in the early 2000s or the late 90s. In all the co-op stores in Western Canada had CFL players on cereal, on chips, on the Riders had more because they just do that the Riders know what merchandising is. So that's the stuff that we need to do to get to a younger fan base. It's not, changing rules to make teams take time. Like, I don't understand what his problem with not taking a timeout. The team used the rules. We have a less of a play clock. We have less timeouts. They get 6 in the NFL. We get 2 in the CFL. It's kind of lunacy for him to point that out and say it was junk ball. It definitely was not junk ball.
And now I feel like I'm putting myself out here, and I'm risking myself sounding like a numpty or sounding like an idiot, because my highest athletic achievement is winning the dodgeball championship in grade 12 intramurals, and I will never forget that. But yeah, back injury took me out of football a little too early for my liking, and I struggled with that for a very long time. So yeah, I am a bit of a goof. I'm an armchair quarterback myself, but there are a few things where it just seems a little bit contradictory, at least to me. Talking about the Argos giving up 25 pressures out of 31 pass attempts for Nick Arbuckle. But then also saying that the Argos, or there were only 4 completions of 20 yards or more in the game. Well, to me, it seems like the issue there is not the clock. It's not the throwing league. It's the fact that QB1 is not in the game for the Argos, and that the D-line for the Riders is overpowering the Toronto Argonauts O-line. So, on that final drive, where they end up tying up the game, they're taking what the defense gives them. So is that junk defense from the Riders or smart football from the Argos for taking advantage and tying up the game? Or is that just smart? So some of that, I just not, it's not very clear to me, some of the criticisms there. And the clock, I think, is just the best thing about the Canadian game. And I've been struggling all day. Like, what am I missing here with the clock rules in the Canadian Football League? The urgency, it doesn't, having only 3 downs in those final minutes create that urgency. I know that they could do a QB sneak on a 3rd and inches, but at the end of the game, that's life or death. And teams this season have missed 3rd and shorts. I do agree with you about the marketing. It's tough when you go out to a bar and it's all NFL football, and there doesn't seem to be sort of a culture around the CFL in that same way. The partying for the Super Bowl, the gambling on the games and things like that. But I also don't understand some of the criticisms with also no solution in play. It's just throwing it out there and blaming it on the powers that be, that this game sucks, the rules suck, that's why nobody watches it. That doesn't seem very constructive to me. So how do we fix the CFL if there's anything wrong with the CFL? And I have a hard time saying that the rules are a problem with the game, or even the talent is the problem with the game. A lot of people, and I actually think rightly so, that the league has become disconnected with the grassroots level of the game and developing players from 2 years old going all the way up and saying, I want to play in the Canadian Football League. But isn't that what a team like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers does so well? Can't the rest of the league maybe model off what the Bombers are doing? There are players on that team. I'm thinking Nick Dembski, I'm thinking Brady Oliveira, that played high school ball and now have brought championships to that city. That is so, so cool. So I think we need to keep the uniqueness of the game. I've been doing this podcast for 10 years. The amount of haters that I've muted and blocked and rolled my eyes at. If the CFL goes closer and closer to the American game, they will mock it mercilessly even more. There's a perception problem in the CFL, and if we have the same rules as the American game, might as well just fold the tent. Embrace what the CFL is to Canada, to this country, and hey, if American fans want to join in and have fun with us, you're welcome too. But to make it the same, and I'm not saying that's what Luke is saying, some people do argue that way. That seems like the wrong course of action when it comes to fixing what's wrong with the CFL. I just don't understand. You can't expect every week to have 4 bangers on TV. Like, the NFL knows what games are going to be good.
Yeah.
They take games away from the national primetime slots if they're like, nobody wants to watch this on a Sunday night at 8 o'clock or whatever it is. The CFL doesn't have that luxury. So what do you want to do? Put all 4 games on at the same time and then pick the best one? And there was a time not long ago when we couldn't watch all the games. They weren't available on TV. Are we so spoiled now that we don't want to watch the games that aren't as exciting? You can't force every game to be an amazing game, Sheldon.
Yeah. I think one of the issues that could help to, make the game more popular to the rest of the fans is, there's a lot of really passionate CFL fans. Let's call the CFL family, okay? So there's those people, they are super passionate about the CFL as a whole. They have their teams that they cheer for, but they're passionate about the league. They go to the Grey Cups every single year. That's what needs to be built. There needs to be a way to get those type of fans to be able to share that with the rest of the league. Like there's certain there's other fans who I'm just a Rider fan. I'm not going to watch the other 3 games a week. And if the Riders are on bye, I'm not watching CFL football. So, and that's where, being in the communities and being, we say it a long time, a game would go crazy when it comes to helping attract a younger fan base, but the league or somebody has to be willing to put money into it. And that's the tough thing. You see a game or people like try to put out Maximum Football, and when it comes out and it's bless them for trying, but it's a severely subpar product when it comes to what people are expecting on console-based gaming. It doesn't work, and it's not good enough even for the CFL to put their name on it, because they were offered it and they said no. I guess I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, off topic here, but I just think that, like you said, the CFL game itself, the rules itself, are not the problem, with one small caveat. I agree with him about the Rouge. I agree with him about the missed field goal part of the Rouge. That is a rule that I think makes the CFL kind of look bush league when you're not conceding that single point, when it just flies to the end zone. Like I'm sorry, the Riders and Brett Lowther don't deserve a point for missing a 33-yard field goal.
I'm okay with modifying the Rouge, like if it just goes straight through the end zone.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I get that. I can maybe concede that point.
But I think I think that, like, the rest of the rules, like it's made to be an exciting offensive. Like, in the past 5-10 years, most of the rule changes have been A, for player safety, and B, to try to make more offense. And it makes it exciting. And the game itself is not the problem, Luke. If you come across this and you see this and you watch this, that's not the problem, okay? I understand, week 3 of the CFL season, when a lot of players don't even play in preseason and they're still trying to gel. Like, when a team is playing with their backup quarterback who shouldn't be in there, and there's injuries, and a low block happens that causes an injury, which then causes the team to retaliate and hit the other team's quarterback and start being really chippy and nasty with each other. That's not the norm in the CFL. These type of penalty fests aren't the norm. The CFL has pretty good officiating. Yes, there's times when video review and the command center interjecting and other things like that kind of rattle me and take away from the game. But when it all comes down to it, I think the CFL game rules, that is good. That is good enough to attract fans, but the presentation needs to be better. We just seen for the first time in about 10 years, TSN started feeling like they give a shit and adding more to their production and putting new graphics and like, some things they try too hard when it comes to, like, things like Straight Fire and stuff like that, where they're trying to appeal to those younger people, but maybe it's missing the mark, at least for this guy. But other things, like, you keep doing that, keep innovating when it comes to broadcasting, when it comes to social media, when it comes to marketing your players, when it comes to merchandise, when it comes to branding. Like today, or it might even be tomorrow when the actual meeting's happening, but the Riders are announcing that they made $2.1 million in profit last year after losing money previously. And most of that is due to the launch of the Obsidian jersey. And there was a lot of Rider fans who got wind of this change happening and poo-pooed all it before it even came out, because they're changing the logo. But when it comes out, it actually looks cool. And you see now at games, I see, it's like half and half when it comes to Obsidian jerseys and regular jerseys. I swear, like, they sold so many of those jerseys. And things like that teams can do, where they can find new ways to attract fans, to attract people to buy things, to attract people to subscribe to TSN to watch it. So they're trying. They got CFL Plus kind of going to get people around the world to be able to watch. Yes, there's issues with it. There was issues during the preseason, but they've tried, getting Genius Sports on board, and I know that is a sore spot for a lot of fans too. But if things like this that they try work, it's going to be good. But you have to try things and you have to fail to succeed in the end.
We romanticize the 90s a lot when it comes to the CFL. But actually back then, the ratio was higher. There were more Canadians. There were more Canadians on defense. There were also way more blown coverages. It's like, is that junk football? Like, I don't know. It was exciting. Mistakes make excitement in football. They create touchdowns. Weather, I think, creates exciting football. I think to fix the game, and this is a bigger conversation, if the game is really broken, we do need to find ways to protect the quarterbacks and to keep the QB1s on the field as long as possible. Now, a lot of times there is non-contact injuries and things like that, and that gets pretty tough to prevent. But I think it comes down to O-line play over the last half decade or so. I think we've seen teams build their rosters. The Riders had 9 D linemen on the roster this past week, and that is to rotate guys in, keep them fresh, keep pressuring Nick Arbuckle like they did all night long on basically 85% of the snaps. When the defense is overpowering the offense on a consistent basis like that, these quarterbacks can make throws. But when you've got 280-pound guys in your face on every play, it gets a little bit tougher to make those throws. So how do you fix that? That is something definitely to explore, whether it is changing up the ratio, maybe less Canadians on the O-line, whatever it is. And I don't want to disparage Canadians, because the MOP in this league was Brady Oliveira, Isaac Adiemi Berglund of the Alouettes, Lawal Ugawak of the Owls. Canadians crushing it on the defensive line, but something is going on, and maybe it has to do with less practice. A short training camp. No more padded practices. Sheldon, you did bring up the player safety changes to the rules. Is there a little bit of a give and take there where maybe the quality of play is down, but the health of the players is up? It's a tough balance to strike when it comes to that.
Yeah, and there's another thing too that's looming over this whole thing when it comes to players, maybe being better at their positions. It's the coach's cap. The coach's cap is limiting the growth of coaching in the CFL. It's limiting the amount of compensation that they can actually get. It's limiting just, the amount of people in the organization when it comes to coaching players. That used to be, I don't want to say it's unlimited, but it used to be you could have like position coaches. You could have like a coach for every single position. But now most times it's like you have somebody who is a DB coach, but also the defensive coordinator and the assistant or the passing game coordinator or something. Like they have to wear so many hats just because one guy got a little bit crazy when it came to resources and coaching on a team, and he didn't have a team president who was willing to stop that, and so they had to make a rule. And that's something that is hindering the league. So I agree, and I believe Luke has made that point. I'm not sure it was in this direct tweet, but he has before, so I think he understands that is a problem too. So yes, there are certain things that the CFL needs to fix, but again, looking at week 3, Riders versus Toronto, that's not the issue, boys. That's not the issue.
Well, and look, I see the empty seats in the stands. I'm not blind to those. I realize that is a concern for many across the country. The people that get paid a lot more than me to try to get these people in seats. How do we get that figured out? Is it simple as being Winnipeg, winning consistently, creating this atmosphere that people want to be a part of? That's what it's all about. Tickets are expensive now. Man, you used to be able to get into a stadium for basically $10 and sit on the upper deck. That's not going to get you a drink now. But we got to pay the players. Paying them fairly is going to attract more talent to the league. So that's another balancing act that we have to figure out in the CFL to get families out to the stadium. I look at what's happened in Edmonton over the past, we'll just say couple months. People have blown probably half their annual salary supporting the Oilers for the playoff run, and all of a sudden they got no more money for football or maybe anything else. Life's expensive, man, and I think maybe football, maybe just sporting tickets in general are the first to go out of the budget.
For sure. And, 5-10 years ago, we were starting the season like Canada Day. That was the first week of the season, and they decided that they wanted to try to make the playoffs in Grey Cup in more favorable conditions, and they wanted to move up the season. So they've been moving it up, and now early on in the season, you're fighting the Stanley Cup playoffs, you're fighting the NBA playoffs, you're fighting seeding, farming, especially in the prairies where most of your attendance is going to be. You have kids graduating, end of school. It's just a very busy time for everyone. And, the attendance always gets better as the season goes on. But it does suck seeing a bunch of empty seats on the field. That's for darn sure.
Well, and you know what? At this point of the season, you compare most June games to the October games. The October games are going to be so much better, better coached, more well executed on the field. That's kind of how it's always been in the CFL. The old saying, the season doesn't start until after Labor Day. The intensity is cranked up. The execution is top notch. The game plans are that much tighter. It's not an excuse for early season struggles. I think that's part of what we're experiencing here. But man, I'm glad we turned the mics on here. I feel a lot better. I had the butterflies in my stomach. I was spending far too much time scrolling on Twitter, getting myself mad, typing tweets, deleting tweets. And I figure it's more productive to just turn on the mic, man, and have this conversation.
Yeah, it's best when, we can just, it's not Festivus, but we can air our grievances and get everything out there. And again, just another chance for me to see your pretty face.
So we turn to you, the CFL fan, 2-and-out Hamlet. We might be growing to a village, though. Like, we have 800 taxpayers a part of 2-and-out Nation on YouTube.
So I think that technically the Patreons are our taxpayers.
Yeah, that's true. We're getting close to affording new uprights at the 2-and-out field. So rate, review, and subscribe on the YouTube channel. We'll put this up as a podcast as well. And I would love to ask your input on how you would fix the Canadian Football League. Look forward to hearing from you. For Sheldon Jones, I'm Travis Currah. We'll talk to you soon on 2-and-out.